stuff happens, you know? I go out with no gallery. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to our June 28th Rotary Club of Columbus meeting. We call our meeting to order. And you guys look fantastic, not just because it's the 28th of June, but you guys look fantastic. Look at the person next to him and say, you look fantastic.
You look fantastic.
That's how I really mean that. Join me, if you would, in giving Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this point, I'd like to call on Carmen if she would come and give us an invocation according to her faith tradition. If you would, Ms. Carmen.
Thank you, President Cedric. As we go into the 4th of July week and celebrate Independence Day, I have a friend who dropped her oldest son off at West Point this year and watched him go as a recent high school graduate and walked away looking at his freshly buzzed cut. And it made me just grateful not only for the men and women that wear our uniform, but also their moms and dads who sacrifice a whole lot too. So with that, let us pray. God, as we close out another Rotary year, we come to you in gratitude for all that has been done through acts of service above self. We give thanks for good fellowship, for new friends and old, and for the ability to make a difference in our world and community by feeding the hungry, providing clean water, promoting literacy, playing basketball, inspiring the next generation, and helping to end human trafficking. We give thanks for President Cedric and his faithful leadership to our club. We give thanks also to those who have supported him, for his family and friends, and for our club's officers and directors. We ask for special blessing over them all, and that they may experience rest after a job well done. For those in our community and world who are hungry, in poverty, lonely, mourning, sick, or are victims of crime or oppression, we ask for your mercy and justice, and for your guidance as we seek to bring forth peace, goodwill, and fellowship with all we encounter. As we enter the coming week of celebrating our nation's freedom, we give thanks for our armed forces who bravely serve to protect that freedom, and we ask for your protection over them. In all this and more, we give thanks. Amen. And please remember the cans. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carmen. At this point, we call Leanne, if you would come and give us news for today.
Good afternoon. Here are today's headlines for Wednesday, June 28th. The story: millions of people in much of the southern U.S. are under extreme heat advisories. In Texas, residents have experienced 100-degree temperatures for 3 weeks and counting. At least 9 heat-related deaths have occurred, though some are still under investigation. The strong ridge of high pressure that many have been calling a heat dome is finally expanding outside of Texas. That will bring hotter temperatures and eventually higher humidity our way. The Chattahoochee Valley is on alert Thursday, Friday, and at least Saturday for building heat and more uncomfortable humidity levels. Highs each day will easily be in the upper 90s in many spots, and in some reaching 100 degrees for a few. When you account for the humidity, it feels like 100 to 110 degrees at times. Prepare to stay cool and hydrated during this extreme heat. Straight from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 5 cases of malaria have been confirmed in Florida and Texas, the first time a potentially fatal mosquito-borne disease has been locally acquired in the United States in 20 years. The CDC said in an alert released Monday that malaria is considered a medical emergency and that anyone with symptoms should be urgently evaluated. However, the CDC said that risk of malaria remains low in the United States and that most cases are required when traveling outside of the country. Straight from Columbus, Georgia, the Columbus City Council voted to approve the new budget for their 2024 year yesterday evening. And there is some good news for homeowners. As part of the city's new budget, the council voted to decrease the millage rate, lowering property taxes for Fountain City residents. $334 million was approved for the 2024 operating budget, which is a $20 million increase from 2023. These funds will go to things like community services, public works, recreation, and culture, and public safety, just to name a few. Every day is a special day, and for some reason, and today is no different. Today, on June 28th, in 1838, Queen Victoria took to the throne during her coronation at Westminster Abbey in London. Today's weather includes lots of sun and heat, hot but not too humid, with highs between 93 and 97 degrees across the Chattahoochee Valley. The Dow Jones was down 154 points today at 11:30 a.m. Remember to be a blessing to someone around you today. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. At this point, we'll receive Miss Eileen, if she would come and introduce our visitors and guests today.
Thank you, President Cedric. We have quite a few guests with us today. Mike Smyde has his son, Andy, who's a captain in the U.S. Army. If you would stand and be recognized. Welcome, Andy, sorry. Pat Frey has Tarika Barnes, who's the Director of Community Case Involvement with United Way. As I said, if our guests will stand so we can recognize you. Travis Chambers has Trey Giles as his guest today. Christina Volger, sorry, I can't talk today. I apologize. I'm already in the weekend. Christina Volger has Kern Watkins with the Columbus Symphony Orchestra. She's the new executive director. Cedric Hill has as his guest today Kenyatta McKenzie with Cure Violence, Sophia Passmore with Cure Violence, Tabitha Thomas with Cure Violence. He also has with him Ashley Hill, his beautiful daughter, and Tony Cooper, who's the Muskogee County Police Department captain, is his guest today. Welcome, everyone. Betsy Covington has as her guest today Kelly Parker with Community Foundation, as well as Madeline Piper Wolf. Welcome. Joseph Brannon has Julia Thompson, who is the general manager of Christian Television Network, as his guest. And Julie Bond has Madison Lawson, the wife of our speaker today, as her guest. I think that's it. Let me make sure. If everyone will please give a warm Rotary welcome for our guests today. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow, what a fantastic group of visitors and guests. And again, we welcome you all. We thank you so much that you're here with us today. And I don't know whether Carol is here. Is Carol here? Carol, you stand up for me? Anyone that's interested in being a part of a rambunctious group like this, that's the lady that you would see. We'd love to have you a part of this club. But again, let's give our visitors and guests a hand. I think at this point, Eric, Ian, or Sebastian will come and give us a special presentation of our guests today.
President Cedric and fellow Rotarians, it is my absolute honor and pleasure to introduce a very, very special guest to the Rotary Club of Columbus, Mr. Mamoru Fukunaga, who is the Deputy Consul General at the Consul General of Japan in Atlanta. And with him is Vice Consul Miki Nakao and Laura Schaefer, who I think is the one that actually makes sure all the trains run on time. So I'd like you to give a very warm welcome to Mr. Fukunaga, who's going to bring a few words of greeting to us.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. I'm very honored to come here in more than 100 years Rotary Club. And I have first visit in Columbus and Japan and Georgia's economic relationship is very enriched. Our consulate next year come to 50th anniversary. And so Japanese companies in Georgia also come to almost 50 years. In these 50 years, our relationship, business relationship is very developed very well. And we very hope next 50 years, So 100 years, we strengthen the relationship and enrich Japan and the U.S. Business relationship, and we very put importance on Columbus. And I have just visited CSU, and we hear the very hopeful programs in universities. I very hope with you developed Columbus and Japan's relationship. Thank you so much.
And I have a small presentation for Mr. Fukunaga for you to remember your visit to our club. First of all, a Rotary Challenge coin, which has the Rotary four-way test, which you will experience at the close of our meeting, and a banner that will remind you of your visit as a guest to the Rotary Club of Columbus.
Let's give them a hand again for traveling such great distance to be with us today. Each week it is indeed a pleasure and honor of ours to have a military guest from Fort Moore. At this point, President-elect Tom Wynick will come and introduce us to our Ralph Puckett Jr. Soldier of the Week.
Okay, it's my distinct honor today to welcome Staff Sergeant Bittner, Ryan. He's 11 Bravo infantryman, serves as one of the operations NCOs at the United States Infantry School out at Fort Moore. Staff Sergeant Bittner has served in many roles as rifleman, RTO, machine gunner, team leader, squad leader, section leader, and drill sergeant. He has 2 deployments, one to Iraq and also one to Afghanistan. He's attended the military courses in schools, equivalent for his time and position in the Army. Basic Leaders Course, Advanced Leaders Course, Airborne School, Jumpmaster School, and of course the Drill Sergeant Academy. He has an ARCOM with 2 oak leaf clusters and 1 combat device, also an AAM and other awards. Staff Sergeant Bittner grew up in Colorado Springs, and he joined the Army back in June of 2014 and then came here to Fort Moore to start his career. He loves hiking, water sports, any kind of outdoor adventures, and he's excited because he's getting ready to go and join America's 911 at 82nd Airborne, now at Fort Liberty. So welcome today. So Sergeant Bittner, I would like to give you Words for Warriors. This is Colonel Ralph Puckett's book. And inside there's a inscription with 4-way test. And this particular volume was donated by one of our members, Judy Thomas, in honor of Colonel Puckett. So I'll get to that. Also, we have a number of events, tickets, number of venues here in town. So the River Center, Columbus Symphony Orchestra, the NIM, Columbus State University Theater Department in Springer. So you can use those at your leisure. And we have a coin, Rotary coin, so thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service to our country and nation. And I share your excitement in your next assignment. So.
Appreciate it. Thank you all to having me here for the next couple hours or so and trying to learn about what you guys do for this community, both internationally and locally. Thank you.
Staff Sergeant Bittner, just to reiterate what President-elect Tom said, on behalf of 280 members of this club, thank you so much for being our guest today. Please take back to your fellow soldiers on Fort Benning how much we appreciate what you all do for us in this community and what you do for our country. Let's give him a hand again for being with us today. Just a couple of announcements. Please see Jim Hawthorne. Jim, where are you? And Leanne, which is up front here, to capture a photograph, since you're looking so beautiful today, for our new directory that's going to actually be coming up. There will be no meeting on July the 5th, and on July 12th, we will actually have our changing of the guard and past President's Day, so please join us for that. And we'll have a happy hour tomorrow at Scruffy Murphy's on Broadway, and that'll be between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. Please, if you have and your schedule permits, come out and join us, and of course that serves as a makeup. At this point, preempting our program today, which will be introduced by Dr. Hiltz, we will receive a small video. You'll receive that, and the next voice you'll hear will be a Dr. Asante Hiltz. That was around the corner on 2+ years of pandemic and turmoil in our nation and world as we know it. Rotary once again emerges with a revolutionary approach and designed to keep us strong addressing humanitarian needs.
Hey, welcome. This is Reggie Lewis with Cure Violence Columbus, and we're at the North Columbus Boys and Girls Club celebrating We Own Friday. We'll show you what we got going on. You can bring the first slide up, Ryan.
Wow, we have really traveled the world in these few minutes. What an honor, what a pleasure, on behalf of the Rotary Club of Columbus, Georgia, to be celebrating the Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month with all of you.
As Teacher of the Year, my message is humanizing education, seeing each other and the students we serve as people, as full humans with lives inside and outside of school.
What inspired y'all to serve and join the Army?
The YouTube videos for me, mostly. No, it was definitely, I think just seeing guys like Colonel Puckett and just, it's kind of the whole campfire thing.
Hi. Okay, this is never easy, but I would like to start this presentation by saying thank you. This was the best year of my life.
Good morning, fellow Rotarians. My name is Tom Wainick. I am the incoming president-elect for our club. And I've had the privilege of being out here on the build site for our work with Habitat for Humanity.
And it's a great day here at the job site. We're building 3 houses.
The thing about Rotary that's so great is that I've met a lot of people and I get to do great service projects like we are today.
We've helped Habitat for Humanity. We've donated for children's literacy, clean water, you name it.
Hi, I'm Joe Young. I'm past president of the Rotary Club of Columbus. Our club has been excited to be involved in helping out a new initiative here in Columbus called the George Washington Carver Victory Farm and Garden.
Hi, I'm David Lewis, Superintendent of Education for the Muscogee County School District and also Rotarian, so I have two perspectives on this project, and we're really thrilled as part of the school district to be in partnership with Turnaround Columbus to make this an opportunity for the entire neighborhood.
The Sheffield Leadership Award was established in 1994 by the Rotary Club of Americas. This award is presented annually to a president in each category who best exemplifies the extraordinary leadership traits represented by the Sheffield family and execute their responsibilities in an exceptional manner.
The winner for Category 4, Cedric Hill, Rotary Club of Columbus.
Thank you for your service to Rotary. This is our home club. To the community that we serve and face, together, let's imagine Rotary.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to stand before you to introduce to you our program for today, and this is an update on the Cure Violence Columbus program. And this is exciting because it gives you another example of Rotarians in action. It shows you how our Rotary Club members have been involved in some of the activities that we've put into place to make the Cure Violence program come alive. And many of you may not have seen the original presentation that we have given to Rotary in the past, but just to shorten it and give you a brief summary, Cure Violence is a public health intervention that addresses violence, and as the name implies, we believe that we can cure violence. And the only way to do that is to have the multiple components, which we call the social determinants of health, having an impact in the outcome of people who may be at high risk for violence. And all of those components are inclusive of education and job readiness and our law enforcement partners, all of our partners in the community, our faith-based partners coming together to address a problem that we all know is a concern here in Columbus, and that's violence. So to do that, a team was pulled together to bring the Cure Violence program, which is a world-renowned program. We brought it to Columbus, and that program was led by our president here, Cedric Hill, Reggie Lewis, myself, Ashley Hill, and Cedric Hill Jr. And we were looking for somebody who could lead this initiative in the Columbus area. And we prayed about this, and we searched, and we recruited, and we were able to get someone who is our speaker for today. His name is Mr. Jerome Lawson. He is native to Columbus, born and raised here. He has a tremendous story to share, but what's most important about that story is that he can relate to the people in the community that we're targeting, and that's African-American males between the ages of 18 and 24. They're our highest risk category. And he works with our community partners to get them engaged, to get you all engaged, so that we can find a solution to the problem that's festering, not just in our community, but communities around the world in our country. So he's going to share with you today what we've been able to accomplish under his leadership, the team that has been brought with him, those are our guests that have been introduced earlier, and some of the connections that he's been able to make in our community. We're extremely excited about that. And then Reggie will talk to you about how you all as Rotarians can continue to assist in this process, and that will be our call to action. So without further ado, please help me welcome up our speaker and program for today, Mr. Jerome Lawson.
How everybody doing this evening? Afternoon, rather. Again, everybody looks amazing. It's an honor to be here at this point in my life. Who would have ever known a young guy that come from the background that I came from a 5x8 cell with no education, but with grace that I didn't know existed. I'm here today, and I'm very thankful to be a voice on the behalf of a community that feels as though it's disconnected from a people who don't look like them. I'm gonna be very transparent, by the way. I feel like the best approach is the realest one, and that's to be truthful and honest. Me and my team, Kenyatta McKenzie and Tabitha Thomas, we do a lot of street canvassing. I came from a mother who was a drug addict, and my dad was a drug dealer. And I was produced from that environment. And a lot of people tend to not understand circumstances that you have no control over. And what happened was, I thought what I saw was the normal things in life, as do a lot of young people right now. And given the history of Georgia, it doesn't make it any better. But I haven't given up on the idea of what hope is. That's what drives me to go out into these communities to try to let them know about something that they haven't been conditioned to know and or receive, and that's hope. We are in an amazing facility right now, and she was talking about the heat index earlier. And I was just forced to think about the times when we didn't have air conditioning. Not just because we couldn't afford it, but because of people who didn't look like ourselves, didn't think it upon themselves that we was worthy enough to come down there and fix our air conditioning. And that's the reality that we deal with today. And when I got hired on as a director for Cure Violence, I went into the community and I realized that it was more than just violence. We had a lot of broken things in our communities that ended in violence, but it didn't start in violence. We got a lot of young men out there that are going through things, and they come from broken homes, and they don't know how to reach out for help. They have no hope. They're not taught to value themselves. So the approach had to change. I couldn't come saying we want to cure violence. I had to come as a listener to figure out what was the genuine concerns of a community who felt given up upon. And that's the reality of a lot of our young people out there. I go on Casita Road, the south side of Columbus, 31903, 31906, 31907, 31909, 31904, because violence affects everybody. I passed out envelopes, well, Julie passed, thank you, Julie, by the way. She passed out envelopes on everybody's table. And I asked everybody to open those envelopes and put together what was in those envelopes. And if you've seen that, they're puzzle pieces. And I was praying the other day, like, what can I say in front of an audience like this? And the Spirit revealed to me as clear as day. It's about community. The one thing that every community has in common is the fact that it all involves people. Everybody makes up the community. Be it you're here, there, or in between, you make up our community. But the beauty of community is that God gave us an opportunity to exemplify who He is through our service to each other. And we become strong through that service. And I realize that a lot of people don't feel as though they got the opportunity to be served. Some of us go home every day without the concerns of other people. And that has to change. Until there's a sense of urgency upon all of us to do something and make a difference, that's when we become the change that we need to be. When I went to prison at the age of 16 for armed robbery, who would have ever thought that I would be here as a successful small business owner, as a husband to an amazing wife? That's my wife right there with the yellow, right there. That's her, the beautiful lady who's brought a lot of difference in my life because she showed me what I needed to be as a man, and then she gave me two beautiful daughters, 2 and 4, Sky and Rain. I would be wrong not to bring them up. 2 of my treasures. And I made it my point to make sure that they did not experience what I experienced coming up because they didn't deserve the things that I went through. I used to watch my mom high on drugs. And I used to watch my dad. My dad would tell my mom, sit down. And he would put crack right in front of the kids and said, your mama want this more than she wants y'all. Right? I didn't know how to receive that. But what he was telling me was that I'm broken too, and this is all I know. This is the best way I can raise you. And we have to ask ourselves, when you got children in environments like that, how do we expect them to become productive? The only produce that would come out of them is what they're coming from. So we can't fault what's going on in our community because there's an underlying issue that exists. And that takes the community to get involved to address these issues. That's why I love Cure Violence, because when we're out here meeting these people, we went to the rec, what was it, Fu Ellen Rec Center yesterday? Young man, 8 years old, wouldn't let me go. And I didn't know it, but when we left, he ran out, hey, and I was like, come to the van. And he came and it just hit me. I'm like, is your dad at home? And he froze. I said, it's okay. He said, no. I said, it's okay, here come my card. Tell your mom to call me, I'm gonna follow up with you. When he didn't let me know, when he didn't let me go, I picked up on it. I was like, something not right. He was going out his way to show out. And what I did was I just tried to show him without breaking that you're worth something. There are people out here who love you and who value you, and we have to connect to him, connect to other children like that, and that's what Cure Violence is trying to do. Cure Violence is out here curing the violence by curing the people. We have to cure the broken minds. We have to cure the broken spirits. We have to cure the destruction that has devastated our communities. If you ride through the south side of Columbus, you'll see it. It looks nothing like the north side of Columbus, and that's the community's fault. We can do better. Service above self. We have to do better, because when we leave this planet, we're going to be accountable for every gift that God put in us. And the greatest gift that we have is service. That's how we cure the violence. We cure it by being an even greater community. Those puzzles that I put together on the table, for sake of time, I'm not going to tell you all to bring them all together, but I will by the time we get ready to go. When we put these puzzle pieces together, it represents that everybody has a part to play. Some people at the table may not have had a piece of the puzzle, but it represents the fact that even though you may not have a resource to give, you got your time, you got yourself to give. And if we do it right, we can come together, and it creates a lighthouse at the end of it. That puzzle is a lighthouse, because the light has to be the thing that brings us home. There should always be a beacon of hope, a beacon of service, a beacon of confidence, a beacon of love. There should be something that signals that we're all human and none of us are greater than the other. And if we do become great, it's only to make the person behind us or next to us even greater. That's our job, to connect and promote and be fearless in doing this. A lot of people say, man, I praise you, I can't go in those communities. Why not? Why not? They're good enough to come spend money at Walmart, but you can't go and see them and meet them where they are, right? We have to meet them in our own comfortable environment. No, we have to step outside of that and meet these people. And if you're not willing to do it, that's okay. Just don't get in the way of the people who are trying to make a difference. Because at the end of the day, they deserve it. And I just don't want to see other youth out there with the mindset that I had, because I was fortunate enough to come out of mine. Some of them may not be. And that's something that, regardless of what happens, we can't afford. We can't afford to continue to let time go by without everybody giving the absolute best effort that they can to save our community. But we have to be a community first. It don't matter who you are, where you are, you can serve. And that's what Cure Violence is about. It's about approaching people where they are, realizing that it's deeper than just people out here committing crimes and violence. It's underlying issues, and when we can begin to look at that truth and face the ugly parts of the truth, but also have a mindset of recovery, we can make it happen. I thank everybody for their time, and we will put those ending pieces together of that puzzle so that you all can see that if we do it right, we put together what we're able to put together, we can come together and be the community of light, a beacon that we need for our community. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. As you can see, he was the right choice. You understand his story, you understand his passion. I'm going to keep this short, and you've heard me say this every time I get up here. We all have to be part of the solution. We no longer can stand back and allow the things that happen in our communities, to talk about it in our groups, and to act like we can't be part of that solution. We all took part in this mission because God has given us these talents that we can use. No, I didn't grow up poor. No, I didn't grow up without parents. I was actually adopted. But the one thing about it is my mother and father who raised me always wanted me to be my best. So imagine if we can go into these communities and step in that gap. It doesn't matter that you're white. It doesn't matter that you're a female. We all have to take part in this mission. On the table, you have some blue cards that are talking about cure violence. It has Jerome's information on there. It has other information about what we're trying to do. We're trying to build an empowerment network. That empowerment network looks like the people who are in this room, everybody. We have to stand up for Columbus, guys. We can't be amazing Columbus, Georgia, if every neighborhood is not amazing. I need you to take a walk through some of these neighborhoods and see where they don't have floors in their bathrooms. They use 5-gallon buckets to use as the urinals. They don't have running water. They don't even have electricity. But there may be 5 or 6 kids in that home. A lot of times we talk about those who are on welfare and ask, why don't you get off of it? I want you to go take a little test and talk about the cliff effect, CLIFF effect. A lot of times people who are on welfare, if they get a $1 raise, they lose almost in some cases $8,000 worth of value or assistance. Just because they're trying to advance, they get punished. It's not like us who get a 10 to 20%, $25,000 pay raise. We get $25,000 bonuses. They get a $1 raise and they lose $8,000 to $10,000. So why do I want to advance if I'm going to lose the benefits that's helping me to survive? And I'm living under livable wages, so how can I feed my kids? There's not a father home, so my 13-year-old son goes out and robs a store because we need food, we need money, we need help, we need medicine. Medicine costs him $400 for somebody who only makes $12,000 a year, and their rent is $12,000 a year. So how can they survive? But yet we go home to our air conditioners, we go home to our pools, we go home to our fancy cars, we get to hug our kids. We get to send them to the best schools. We get the best education. We send them off to college. We have hopes. We take vacations. Some of those kids haven't even been off across Victory Drive. But yet we sit here and sometimes we just turn our eyes away from them. We are coming to change this city. And if you haven't figured that out by now, by what you've seen over this last year in this Rotary Club, we are definitely coming to change the city. And we ask you to stand with us. We ask you to stand beside us. This is not this is all of ours. This is the neighborhood we live in. These are the communities that we support. We have to stand up for what's right in our communities. We have to stop the racial divide. We have to stop blaming each other. Let's put it down and let's stand up for what's right. Afterwards, if you need questions answered, we will be here to answer them for you. We're not going anywhere, guys. You will see more of us, and I hope you will join us in this fight.
It's tough to stand here. Beginning this year, Jerome, who stood before you, was simply something that I call faith, because I didn't know he existed. And by happenstance, we ran into him, and now he stands before you. I know our time is short, but I wanted to be able to just give, if there's a burning question from someone from the audience, I want to be able to answer that question for you. And then we'll wrap up our time. As Reggie said, we're going to be here. Cure violence is here to stay. We see now that our niche has taken hold, and we're going to push this thing forward until we bring about the constant balance that's necessary for this community to be level and equal and content with the reality of what it should be. Question, burning question. It's Grace. For whom?
Just real quickly, top 3 things that you need people in this room to do.
So the top 3 things that we need people to do, we need mentors to help out with some of the the programs that we're doing. We're right now at Frank Chester with a group called C3, Collaborative Community Connection. We're doing programming out there to kind of get back in those neighborhoods. For the churches, get outside of your church. Walk into your community. Find out what services are available that you can help those communities with. Call up 211. They keep a list of how many people are calling for different services in those communities. You can be that connectivity to help them find the right services. That's the biggest thing that you can do. For those who have businesses, we're looking for businesses that can employ people who have a felony background and give them a livable wage. We need more businesses like that to step up, because what we're finding is these guys can't get jobs, and then you wonder why they go back to doing what they're doing. That's what we need help with.
I'll just add one other thing to that. If you see a problem somewhere, let us know. Because what I've seen from Jerome and these ladies, what they're doing every day is they're riding through our community looking for trouble. And that's not police, that's rehabilitation. That's people that's looking to reconcile people to who they are and what their lives are intended to be. So if you see something, as they say something. Michael?
Are you getting any help or assistance from the city government?
City government, as many of you all know, just for clarification purposes, when we first got started with this process, moved toward, once we did our assessment and it was determined that Columbus was a viable place for cure violence to be established, the city set aside $500,000 that we're actually using at this particular point as a draw to make sure that Jerome is taken care of and the other people that we've hired. And just so that you'll know, please, the other two ladies, if you all would stand, because I want you to see who they are. These ladies are phenomenal on the streets of Columbus, Georgia. I know we're accustomed to superheroes in tights, but these ladies are phenomenal. I've seen them in action. They are absolutely phenomenal.
Still recruiting.
Still recruiting, exactly right. But yes, that's our initial funding. We're seeking some other things. Some of you may know we just recently came from Omaha, Nebraska, in which we had the great privilege of spending some time over with Captain Tony Cooper with our Sheriff's Department and saw what's actually happening there, and we intended to kind of sort of replicate that process here in Columbus. I know we're past our time, but if you don't mind staying, we certainly don't. So if there are other questions.
Good afternoon. Is there a partnership with your medical, like your Piedmonts and your St. Francis and things of that nature?
Yes, sir. So we just recently signed an MOU with Piedmont Hospital to have our staff in the ER as well as in the hospital as we have gunshot wound victims coming in. What we know is on average is about $34,000 for somebody who's been shot and has aftercare. That equates to about $12 million a year in costs. And what we know is we can't just worry about the homicide victims, we have to worry about those who are shot. So we're going to have our staff in there responding to gunshot wounds when they come in. And the idea is to have a warm handoff, meaning we'll assess them for mental issues, but also try to identify the different services that they may need so that we ensure that they don't come back to the ER. So yes, we have partnered with them, and we're also looking at Mercer Medical College because of university, because of what they offer. How can we utilize that service being here? So that's something else we're looking into as well. And Valley Health Systems, we're already on board with them, and of course the health department. Ms. Carroll.
I have a question. In addition to churches and other organizations that are providing financial support, do you have an active initiative in terms of donor development?
So that is something we're working on, and going to Omaha is helping us to frame that framework. Everything is not always about the funding or the money. A lot of it is about resources. One reason why we created the C3 or the collaborative effort was we noticed if we all work together, we don't have to have as much funding because we already have the resources to help with that. So we're looking to build that framework out so that we can address the donor part of it, but as well as how do we get all the service providers to work together? Because if we work together, we're more impactful. We have the ability to service more without creating that higher budget. So that's what we're working on right now, is that framework. And that's why we went to Omaha to really see how they're doing it. They've had a 50% reduction in violent crimes. They have a 90% homicide rate clearance. And for you don't know that, that means 90% of the homicides that occur, they clear. And the reason why they do that is because they have the collaboration, they have the community buy-in, they have the transparency, and they have the respect. We saw that firsthand. The police chief is very transparent. They had a shooting the night before we got there, and it was a police-involved shooting, and they talked about it in the meeting that we went to. So we're trying to get to that framework where we're having 120 partners sitting in a room every week to talk about updates and what we're doing and how we're going. But yes, we're working to build that framework. Thank you for that question. Yes, come on.
Also, I am in the process of finalizing a presentation from people's perspective like mine and what I've encountered in the community. So it's a breakdown of how we can engage in the community, the churches, the small businesses, and it's basically a format of my trajectory within the next 5 to 8 years, not just for myself, but as a team, because Cure Violence is bigger than that. It's actually a citywide initiative to resolve violence. This is a on-hand, all-the-time thing that can't go away, but we got to stand with that. So if anybody wants any further information, please reach out to me through those pamphlets, because I will be doing a presentation at the Valley Healthcare location to break down more details about what we're doing with Cure Violence.
Any other last question? Thank you so much for enduring the time. Thank you all for those of you that are here in the room that have served as partners over the year, because the clip that was basically shown was enabling us to be able to show the community things that are happening in the community that they could either be a part of or services that could be provided to them, whether if it was home ownership or whether it was a food desert that we sometimes don't believe exists in the middle of Columbus, Georgia, where you've got a farm that's basically looking to feed people at no cost relative to them. So there's much more that we'll continue to do, and our intention is to make sure that all of us in Columbus know what's available to us and have the access to be able to put that to the people that are really in need of it. At this point, what I'd like to do is thank every one of you all that have been our guests today. Thank you so much, sir, for coming from Fort Moore to be with us. Thank you, Captain Cooper, for your time being with us. Thank you for our guests that have traveled all the way from Japan. I've received that personally, that you came for me. Thank you so much that you're here today on my behalf. Thank you for our Cure Violence team and group. And at this point, I'd like to ask you all if you all would stand. We'll be around for a few minutes. Ms. Carmen is going to lead us in our four-way test, and then we'll be dismissed.
The four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
No further business. We stand adjourned.